How's it going, everyone? College Lefty, and in this video I'm going to be going over the best catchers to use in MLB The Show 19 Diamond Dynasty, and I'm going to be listing a few reasons why I believe that some of these cards are better to use than others, why I have them listed in this order. And shout out to you guys, the people that commented in the last couple videos letting me know what they wanted to see. That always usually helps, and it will make these types of videos a little bit more specific. So I wanted to say first and foremost that not every catcher is going to be included on the list. The reason why I have Live Series JT Realmuto as the worst rated catcher in this video is simply because I still think he's usable in the game. Because of some of these Live Series active quirks, he'll get Road Warrior and Day Player, so that will help increase the PCI size for that card during those situations. I also wanted to include a couple different cards in terms of special edition diamonds, some budget catchers to use. I think this Buster Posey is a pretty good budget player. He's going for about 5,000 stubs, maybe even 6,000, and still is a pretty good option if you're not looking to use a Live Series Gold card, which is what I have at a lot of these early cards throughout this video are either low-rated diamonds or Live Series Golds. This Brian McCann is definitely someone who has a really good swing, a nice left-handed swing. I would really only platoon this card. I would use him only against right-handed pitching, and you could possibly use a different Live Series or possibly that Buster Posey as a platoon, or someone else that I have in this video as a platoon as a cheap option at catcher. I think Gary Sanchez has to be included a little bit higher than even JT Realmuto, even some of these diamonds, simply because he has a lot of power. He has a little bit lower vision rating, but the Live Series quirks will go ahead and make up for that a little bit. I wanted to talk a little bit about Unfazed. Unfazed is a quirk where if you have 2 strikes, then you will be able to have an increased PCI size and extended contact attribute as well. It kind of gives you no penalty with 2 strikes, if that makes sense, so you can kind of miss the ball a little bit and still get rewarded. He also has that Road Warrior, so he will be a little bit better when you are the away team. I think Mitch Garver is another card that has to be in this video. I know he will have a couple of these guys that have a finest version. I'll also try and include them somewhere in the rankings. But I just wanted to talk about this card as well because he also has a lot of power. Not the best fielding, has a little bit worse fielding than Gary Sanchez, but higher contact and higher vision. He does not have the unfazed quirk, but he does have a quirk where he performs better in the 9th inning or later. It's not as usable, but I think that because this card has more power, better contact, he's a little bit better than Gary Sanchez, and he also has a 2-handed swing, which would help me personally. I think Yasmani Grandal is better catcher than all of those guys so far. I think simply because he's a switch hitter, he does have a little bit less power, but the quirks that he has kind of makes up for that, as well as he does have a high discipline rating, which will help with check swings. He's probably the best gold catcher in the game, in my opinion. He does have pretty good fielding as well, but because he plays better at night, I play a lot of my games at night, as well as he hits fastballs with no penalty at all. You can hit those pitches much harder, you can hit those pitches much easier, and you will have that quirk always active. That's not something that is active at a certain time, if that makes sense. I think this Kyle Schwarber is a pretty underrated catcher. He does not play catcher as a primary, so that also is something to keep in mind. Some of these cards will also be in their secondary positions at catcher included in this video. I still think you have to include those types of cards. They're still good. This card plays a little bit above his attributes, in my opinion, simply because he has a really smooth swing. I have this Mike Piazza a little bit higher rated than some of the other cards, simply because he is really well balanced. He has a good contact attribute, good power. This card was used a little bit earlier on in the game cycle, but I still think that he's usable. If you're running a budget team and you have this card, then go ahead and use him. I also think Joe Torre was one of the better catchers in the game early on in the game cycle. Has a lot of power, has good vision, has decent fielding, and is also going for a pretty cheap price on the market. I believe he's about 10,000 to 15,000 stubs. That's a pretty good price for a 93 overall catcher. He also has a secondary at first, so that kind of helps him out a little bit. Some of these other cards also have a couple secondary positions. I think you have to include this Johnny Bench card. I know that he has a signature series, but this card is free throughout the XP reward path. The other one you have to purchase through the market or complete the program in order to unlock. I figured I would include a couple of these guys simply because they are free in the game, and you might be able to use that guy. I think that he's a little bit better than some of the other cards. I think Russell Martin has to be on this list simply because he has a very short swing. He has a very quick swing. I don't know if I would put him higher than that Johnny Bench. It's really personal preference. I think that was my toughest one. They're both 95 overalls. Also with this next guy in Benito Santiago, I wasn't really sure how to rate these three guys. I haven't really used Benito Santiago or Russell Martin as much as I did that other Johnny Bench card. And really, I mean, I used this card in BR. I used Russell Martin a little bit in events. I like all these catchers. I think I would personally go with one of these guys I have a little bit higher rating. But if you're looking for a budget player, I mean, you can get this dude for right around the same price, 10,000, 15,000 stubs. Yadier Molina was a World Series reward earlier on in the season, I believe, and this card is pretty good. I think you have to have him a little bit higher rated than some of the other catchers in this video simply because he's one of the best catchers of all time. I don't think he necessarily plays as good as some of these other guys in the game, but he does have a lot of high contact. This Jimmy Fox, it has catcher as a secondary position, a really good swing, and if the 99 version had a catcher, then he would be much higher. But I think that this card is really underrated. Brian McCann is another great option. I liked him a little bit more than I liked Yadier Molina. Personally, I was using those two guys earlier on in the game, and now that there are many more catchers, many more options, I'd probably go with a different guy. But I think that Brian McCann's a little bit better than Russell Martin, Benito Santiago, guys like that. I think this Jason Kendall is really underrated as well. He's also a free card you can unlock through the signature team moments. I did not include the special edition diamond Jason Kendall simply because this one is free to unlock for grinding the game, and he's much better. He has great speed, he has great contact, amazing vision at 125. I think this card is also very similar. Buster Posey kind of has very similar contact and hitting attributes, a little bit more power, but he also has diamond fielding with less speed. So I have to value this card a little bit more than that Jason Kendall, but I think Gary Carter is a really underrated card that's going for a really good price right now. I think that he's much cheaper on the market because of those Signature Series packs, because they've kind of released those back into the pack store for much cheaper. This card's a really great option. 120 vision, so if you're looking for a guy that has vision similar to Jason Kendall but more pop, that's your dude. He also has gold fielding badge with the diamond arm strength. I mean, 90 arm strength is great. I think you have to include some of these finest cards in this video. Some of these finest catchers are the best cards in the game. I mean, generally, this card has some of the most power in the entire game, let alone the most power for the catching position. I think Mitch Garver, you have to include him. He does have a little bit lower vision, and I think Yasmani Grandal is a better overall catcher simply because he does have that switch hitting capability. He also has better defense, but much less speed. He has 11 speed. That can really hurt you a little bit. And when I was using him, I noticed that that was a big difference because I use a lot of medium speed type of players, guys with 50 to 90 speed on my ranked seasons team. That 11 speed, you can really tell the difference there. But I think you have to get into some of these Signature Series cards now with Ivan Rodriguez, Pudge Rodriguez as the collection reward. Yes, he will have some balls phase right through him, and he won't be able to block them for some reason. It's like a bug in the game or something, but he is one of the better hitting catchers all around, good card with good speed, and he is able to throw runners out consistently. I think Jorge Posada is a little bit better than some of these other guys so far. I think because he's a switch hitter, because he does have a really nice swing, very similar swing to kind of Chipper Jones, if that makes sense. I think that having that switch hitting capability with that two-handed swing makes him a little bit better. He does play a little bit above his stats. I've seen a lot of people use him and do extremely well with that Jorge Posada. Johnny Bench, the 99 overall version, arguably top two catchers in the game in terms of real players. I think that Johnny Bench has to be up here on the list alongside with Mike Piazza. I think that you're kind of giving up a few hitting attributes for that extra defense if you go ahead with Johnny Bench, but either way, you can't go wrong. I think Mike Piazza is a little bit better simply because he has a two-handed swing. For me personally, I like to use that type of swing a little bit more, but also the hitting attributes certainly help me. I don't really find that I throw runners out consistently anyway. It's kind of hard to in this game if they have a good stealing attribute, but I also wanted to include my created player. I think once you add the equipment and you take a look at the screenshot from the power focused created player, he is the best overall catcher in the game. Now I wanted to add this in at the very end simply because some people might not like to use a creative player. I completely understand that. That's why I had all the other catchers listed right before. But once again, thank you guys for watching this video. Shout out to you all that commented asking me for more specific position-based videos like this. And hopefully you guys enjoyed. Until next time, everyone, peace out.